What does it take to come back from life's curveballs that keep hitting you time and time again? Like, have you ever wondered, like really wondered, how some people can actually recuperate or recover from an adversity and seemingly not skip a beat? Like, what is that? What is that thing that they have that has them not quit, not give up? It's called resiliency. And resiliency is the ability to come back, or to bounce back, or to spring back after life has knocked you down. In other words, resiliency is the ability to take a licking and keep on ticking. Because truth be told, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger if you let it. Notice I said, if you let it. Today, I want to talk to you about 3 things that directly relate to resiliency and resiliency for the 21st century. The first thing is we're going to distinguish what resiliency is and what resiliency is not. The second thing we're going to do is to give you the tenets of resiliency. Like actually like a tripod, if you can think of it. It's the 3 legs of resiliency, with the context of it being reinvention. And then the third thing we're going to do is I'm going to leave you with some tips that can help you be resilient for the rest of your life. Sounds good? Awesome! So let's get rolling. So as I said, we wanted to look at what resiliency is and what resiliency is not. So Jennifer Schaefer, she's also a resiliency expert, actually shared that resiliency is not automatic. It just isn't. Resiliency is also not your ability to muster or power through something. Honey, that takes too much energy, okay? And the third thing is that resiliency is not static. It's actually a dynamic and ever-changing occurring or phenomenon. It has 3 distinct tenets. So the first tenet is your purpose. Look, everybody talks about your purpose, like you know that, yeah? But not in the context of resiliency. So really, what is your purpose? Why are you here? Look, this is a big planet and a big universe. Why are you really here? What do you think you have been put here on this earth to do? And the second thing is why. What is your why? Why are you doing this? Now, for me personally, if I tell you about my purpose is to be a teacher, right? That's what I took on, that's what I've been born to do, and that's what I've been doing ever since I lined up my dolls and started teaching them at the age of 8. So I've had a lot of training being a teacher, yes? Resiliency is the equivalent of going to a mental gym where you get to build up your internal resources. So what does that look like? Your internal resources comes from things that you say to yourself. So when you get knocked down, you either have a choice, because resiliency is a choice, to say, I can do it. I know I can do it. I have to do it, and I will succeed. Now that's the positive kinds of things you say to yourself that helps you to build your emotional resolve, that helps you to be resilient. Make sense? Now, on the other hand, there is also external resources, because as much as you say that to yourself, sometimes it just doesn't happen the way you want it to. And that's where the external resources come in, that is your family and friends that can actually support your internal positive state. So the kind of people you want to surround yourself with are people who are positive, who are uplifting, because it is a marriage between the internal and external state that has you been resilient. Make sense? Sounds good? Yeah. But it's not like Schaefer said, it's not automatic. It's something that has to be practiced day in and day out, day in and day out, until it actually becomes a part of you. So I learned how to be resilient from my mom. My mother, God rest her soul, was a chronic asthmatic. I mean, really chronic asthmatic, to the point where her heart would stop several times. And it was my grandmother's job, and she did it amazingly well, to do whatever she needed to do to make sure that my mom stayed with us and on this planet. I learned my resiliency from her because I watched as she got married to my dad. My dad took over that position. And I can tell you the times that my mom was rushed to the hospital, but guess what? She always came back until the day when she didn't come back. But let's talk about that a little bit later, right? The fact remains is that that woman, my mom, rose up and became the first Barbadian woman of color to lead a social welfare department and create an infrastructure that exists to this day. This was back in the 50s. So it was a huge accomplishment, but she just didn't stop there. She actually saw that women, single women, had no way to support themselves or feed their families. So she created what is called a cottage industry, where women could go to work and get paid and in the end be able to feed their families, whether there was a male present in the home or not. That's not all though. She created the safe passage with my dad to provide a way for nurses or people on the island to get off the island and go study in London or England, Africa, and Canada. So you can see her expanding her resolve, expanding her resiliency as she went on. Even though she was chronic asthmatic, in her honor, they have named the home after her because of her resiliency. My mom died at 43, having handed over the last file to her colleagues and then went over. What a way to celebrate your life, yeah? That you've done everything you needed to do while you were here. So the name is named after my mother. It's called the Thelma Vaughan Memorial Home. And coincidentally, this year it's celebrating their 50th anniversary. Here's the amazing thing. Those children that grew up in that home are now adults and they have become entrepreneurs, many of them. So if that is not a testimony to resiliency legacy, that's a new word now we're going to put together, right? I don't know what is. One of the things my mom taught me, and this whole experience of being with her in the short time, was the fragility of life. See, life is very, very fragile, and we don't realize how much time we have left and what we want to do with it. That's why it's so important to have your purpose and to learn how to be resilient, because you don't know, you really don't know how much time you have left. So taking my life, for example, as an example of that, an example of resiliency, I was going through a very, very stressful time, like unimaginable stress. How many of you can relate? Yeah, we've all been there sometimes, yes? And I realized that I had developed a condition called syncope, bradycardia. That's where your heart slows down and suddenly stops. And then it takes a minute to revive. So I'd had a couple of 2 or 3 episodes of that, but I did not know that the day that it happened, that this would be the big one. What do I mean by that? You know, my boss and I were going across the street to have lunch, normal day, when I felt a tug, no, like a pull, and I was actually in a whole nother dimension. So where was I? I opened my eyes and found myself in this absolutely beautiful garden. The colors of the flowers were unimaginable. I mean, the flora and the fauna were so majestic that it was unbelievable. Not only that, the grass was the greenest grass that I have ever seen. And it stretched for miles and miles and miles. And I'm going, wow, this is just amazing. And then to the right of me was a waterfall. Not just any waterfall. The waterfall was singing the most beautiful, angelic, spiritual song that I've ever imagined. Now, I just want to say right now, I was not tripping, okay? I just want you to know that. I was not tripping, okay? This was a bona fide experience that we call a near-death experience. You know what was really important about that, ladies and gentlemen? The fact is the peace, the unimaginable peace sitting in that garden. They call it the peace that passeth all understanding. And I just sat there basking in that peace. And the truth is, I did not want to come back. I really didn't. I just wanted to stay there forever. But unfortunately, I ended up on my back with 3 huge angels standing over me. Their heads alone were 6 feet tall. And they looked down at me and said, "You have to go back." And I went, "No, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back." And they said, "But you have to go back. You have work to do." And at that point, I really understood the phrase, "as it is on earth, so that it is in heaven." Because I woke up on the gurney with my family, looking all concerned. And I really understood right there, right then, that I had been sent back to fulfill something on this planet. Now, not everybody gets to have a near-death experience, but for me, it changed my entire life. So I don't know what it is for you, but you could see from that whole experience, from my home, from my mom, from learning from her, that I got my purpose, she got her purpose, and she actually got to fulfill on hers in a short span of time. I've been given a little bit longer because I've been sent back. That experience helped me to reinvent myself as an author, as a speaker, as a transformational specialist, and now a reinvention and resiliency specialist. I mean, throughout the years, my career and my life have been miraculous because every single day I get to get up and fulfill my purpose of helping others fulfill theirs. And if I've done nothing else, at the end of my life, I can say, I've done that. I have fulfilled what I've been placed on this planet to do. I don't know what it is for you, but let's look, okay? What are the 3 tenets of resiliency? Because we want to really understand that resiliency is directly related to your purpose. Now, we talked a little bit about your purpose, right? What is it that wakes you up in the morning? What would you do if they weren't paying you? That's your purpose. Now, look, I'm not advocating not getting paid, okay? You need to get paid for what you do, right? So I would say that if you can find that, that is what gets you up in the morning and helps you to be resilient. Because no matter what, there is something bigger and greater than you. And if you don't know your purpose, then find one. Maybe it's the Hunger Project. Maybe it's something that you've always wanted to do. You were standing in this art gallery. This is her purpose, to create absolutely beautiful art so that others can enjoy it, so that she can say she did that, right? And then again, once you find that purpose, right, you move on to say, why am I doing this? For what reason? For me, it's to leave a legacy for my children and grandchildren, just like my mom has done for me, right? So that is what my legacy is. And then the third thing, and this is a hidden tenet that you don't think about, is your happiness. Find your purpose and your why, and you'll find your happiness. Because the happiness is directly connected to your internal state, your internal resiliency state. Because chances are, if you're happy doing whatever you're doing, you're going to keep doing it. So we have the 3 tenets then, right, of resiliency. You have your purpose, you have your why, and you have your happiness. Here's the thing, your purpose just has to be bigger than you. Whatever it is, understand that that needs to get fulfilled, and it gets to need to get fulfilled through you. Let's talk about why. Why are you doing this? Why is it that you would want to even have a purpose at all? Listen, you don't have to have a purpose, but it's beneficial, okay? Like, no kidding. But why would you want to have a purpose? Because at the end of your life, what do you want people to say about you? What have you done here on this planet to better yourself and to better humanity. And maybe you're not up for that game, but in the game of resiliency, that is a critical game to play. It's about what is it going to take for you to get up over and over and over again, and your purpose does that. It is so bigger than you that you have to get up. You want to get up. You need to get up, and you will get up. We've talked about your purpose. We've talked about your why. We've talked about your happiness that is inherently connected to your purpose and your why, because it supports the internal state that we talked about earlier. Does that make sense? And it also supports your external people who will support you in fulfilling what you have to do. No man is an island. You have to have a team. Find one, but find one that works for you. So in closing, I'm going to leave you with 4 key points that we talked about, okay? The first thing, as I said before, and I can't reiterate enough, find your purpose. It just helps you along the way. Find one if you don't have one. Ask people, what do you think my purpose is? And they will tell you. The second thing is to find your why. Look, you may not have children or you may not have grandchildren, but maybe you have pets. Maybe maybe you have people around you that really need to benefit from what you have for them. Let that be your legacy, because who I am is someone committed to you not dying with the music inside of you. That's who I am. And that's what I want to pass on to you. So, the third thing, find your happiness. Find your happy spot. Look, we've just been dealing with a lot of things over the last year or so. Consider you deserve to be happy, and you need to give yourself permission to be outrageously happy. No one can do that for you but you. Okay. The fourth point is critical. I mean, let no one, and I really do mean no one, mess with your peace. Because once they mess with your peace, they're now disrupting your inner state. And they don't have the right to do that, and you don't have the right to allow them to do that. It's a two-way street. In order for someone not to mess with your peace, just be compassionate with yourself. Look, we all make mistakes, we all mess up. Love yourself a little bit. No, love yourself a lot, okay? Not a little bit, a whole lot. It has been an absolute honor to speak to you today about resiliency for the 21st century. My name is Dr. Joy Vaughan, and I'm encouraging you to keep on keeping on, because that's all that life is about. Thank you.